see everyone. I found this on Facebook over the weekend, and I thought it fit perfectly with my SET Lab presentation on technology mindfulness in education. It's from a principal's publication, and it says, from 1815, and it says, students today depend on paper too much. They don't know how to write on a slate without getting chalk dust all over themselves, and they can't clean a slate properly. What will they do when they run out of paper? So the transformative powers of technology have been around for a long time, and this is also a great illustration of how the technology changes and evolves quickly, and we have to move fast to keep up. I'm Mary Chamberlain, and I'm a Spanish teacher at Commonwealth Academy. I have the privilege of working with a fabulously talented group of neurodiverse students. The students at our school have diagnoses. A lot of them have a diagnosis of ADHD, specific learning differences, or autism spectrum, and also many of our students are twice exceptional. This is us. We love technology at Commonwealth Academy. We have a one-to-one laptop program. We pride ourselves in the use of assistive technology to help students compensate for difficulties they have with learning. We also pride ourselves in the innovation and creativity that our students demonstrate with their technology. There's a lot of awesome stuff going on in this picture. We've got innovation, we've got engagement, we've got collaboration, we've got teamwork. It's great stuff. But this is also my classroom, and I don't know if this looks familiar to any of you. We got a little farm bill going on up here in the corner. Down below you can't see it, but there's a cell phone in the lap. No one's ever looking at their crotch. There's always something down there. Amazon shopping spree, emergency, very urgent Amazon shopping spree going on a couple weeks ago. Texting with friends, and this is impressive because I can't do 3 texts at once. I can only text with one person at once, but she's actually got 3 things going on at the same time. And then my very, very favorite is the video game fingers. How many of you teachers look out into your classroom and you see the video game fingers? Video game fingers are totally different than doing work fingers. And I've been told by the experts that these are the dinosaur game. The cookie game is different because the cookie game finger is just one hand. And then there's another game that I can't remember that has a different look. But these are all things that come with the awesomeness of technology. Oh, sorry about that. So the students in my classroom need their technology. Regulating, taking things away, closing laptops isn't workable for us because this is how the students access the curriculum. This is how they produce work. This is how they locate their work. And a wise young woman told me earlier this year that taking my cell phone away isn't going to prepare me for college. But my issue is that I spend way too much time regulating, supervising, policing, babysitting what is going on those laptops, and that's time that I could spend doing other more productive things that would be more beneficial to my students. So my question is, how can I create a class culture where the students are aware of their technology use and they self-monitor so that I don't have to? And really, this is a real-world skill because we're a college prep school. We're preparing students for college. When you get to college, when you get to a job, you're expected to be able to manage the balance of your devices and your job. So this is something that they're all going to have to face leaving our comfortable community. Really quick, I want to pause for a definition. The current ADHD interventions focus on inquiry-based approaches rather than directive ones. The goal is to improve self-management skills, to improve those executive functions, and instead of directing the students, instead of telling them how to do it, the current interventions, such as ADHD coaching, focus on leading them to the solution on their own so that they can problem solve, that they know how to get over those hurdles on their own without depending on their teacher or their mom or someone telling them what to do. So what I wanted to do is see if I can use those coaching strategies, use those curious coaching questions to cultivate a system in my classroom where students take ownership of their technology use, where they regulate themselves, where they balance work time with break time, because we all need a break, and I want them to work toward the goal of self-regulation. And my hypothesis was that if students can identify why they're going off task, what is the reason you must do the dinosaur game right now, if you can identify what's going on that's making you do that, then maybe you could implement a different strategy, and next time you're feeling that way, instead of dinosaur game, instead of Amazon shopping, you could ask for help or employ a different strategy to get yourself back on track and meet your goals. Some things I found in my research were that, shocker, technology helps and hinders in the classroom. Computers were designed for multitasking, but people weren't. All of the research shows that multitasking isn't real. Yeah, it's not a thing. You're sort of doing lots of things not that well. In college and in their professional lives, students are expected to behave appropriately with their technology. It's a real life skill. And then I had trouble finding research that specifically discussed the ADHD population and their technology use, although someone just emailed me an article today, so that might have changed. Before I got started with my project, I wanted to experience what it feels like to have technology regulated. The students at our school this year have to check their phones when they enter the building, and then they get their phones back at the end of the day. So, my brave educational consultant and we both tried to mimic what the students have to do, and we challenged ourselves to check our phones up front for the day. And we've got our series of text messages, which is awesome because we were messaging each other, but we didn't have our phones. Originally, we were going to try and do it for half the day. It was hard. I don't know if you all have ever gone without your phone for a day. It was hard, and the chunk of my cognitive load that day that went towards my phone and all critically important things I was missing by not having my phone, it was pretty big, and I'm an adult, and I can self-regulate, I can sort it, so it was hard. At the end of the day, I only had one text message, and it was from a coworker telling me that she hadn't dropped her phone off, like we had talked about, which was funny because I didn't see the message until later because I didn't have my phone. So from this point, we developed the study. We collected pre-executive function strategy data through observation. A coworker came and sat in the back of my room, and she had a chart where she ticked off on task, off task. After that, I gave the students a survey. How do you manage your personal technology use? How do you balance work time with break time? What are the biggest obstacles for you? If you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing in class, why? What's going on that's causing that to happen? And then step 3 was to use those curious questions, to use the coaching questions to kind of help the students choose a technology goal for themselves, choose something that they want to try and improve. And they also had to choose how they were going to measure it, because they were in charge of measuring if they were meeting their goal. And then the final step was to do more observational data and see if anything had changed. Here's our launch. This is a diagram of my classroom, and you see all the little tick marks. This is a black and white photo, but there was a color for on task, and there was a color for off task. So this is our first step is getting the baseline. When I surveyed the students, the bulk of them report that either 80 or 90% of their time with their laptop in Spanish class is on task. And they report that different websites are the biggest distraction. And here's a student quote: "I try to do all my work, but sometimes I take breaks in my class for a quick chess game. Why not?" Other issues. Here's the other issues that they reported. This was a blind survey. I didn't have names on it, and I believe I've got another quote here after this. "I think that my biggest struggle is probably when there's something else that I want to do. Then once I take a break, it kind of never ends until I notice myself not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Sometimes it takes a long time to listen to realize that you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing." My students set a goal for themselves. Here's an example of a goal: "I need to improve my productivity both at school and at home. I need to focus on my work and get things done in the allotted time slot." Here is their data. They kept track on sticky notes. What I found out from this experiment: this is the biggest thing. I think my definition of on task in Spanish class and their definition totally different. In teenager world, working on homework for another class, totally on task. Reading is on task. So reading Harry Potter on your iPad on your desk, totally on task. So when you go back to 80-90% of on-task activity, my definition might not line up with that. There was a slight behavior change after the coaching. I think the biggest thing we noticed is that they were more aware that this is a thing I do and this is a thing that I need to be thinking about. Something that I found was having a non-judgmental conversation about why that is on your screen right now and not your Spanish assignment was a lot more productive than you have 2 demerits, lunch detention, close your laptop, and argument. Having the conversation led to changes and led to implementing new strategies. 25% of students reported satisfaction from achieving their daily goal. Here is our before the intervention. The gold is the off-task behaviors. The day with no off-task behaviors, we probably weren't using computers. Here is the gold is slightly smaller for after the intervention, and again, the days with no off-task, we probably weren't on our computers. Things that were tricky with the study is often when my coworker came to observe, they weren't doing the thing because they were aware that she was coming to track, so after, I think when it happens, right? After she left, then all the things start. And then I think the biggest obstacle, and I can show you, because I'm running out of time, I'll show you my slides here. The students weren't always in a spot where they were ready to recognize that I'm doing a thing I shouldn't be doing and that's hurting me, and I need to make a change. There were a lot of really productive conversations, but then there were some, my biggest technology issue is that I get distracted by the kid next to me and I need to wear earphones, not that I'm playing the dinosaur game all through Spanish class. So some students weren't ready to talk about that yet and tackle that. My ideas moving forward are that it would be helpful to develop a series of steps, because you don't just magically here's your laptop and poof, now I'm perfect. My time is up, I'm finishing this up. And I'd like to try these strategies on an academic support and then look into establishing a school-wide system. My message to educators is that conversations work better than consequences, and teach students the steps to successful technology management. And I'm out of time, so I'm going to go to my last slide. That I think it may be an impossible dream, the thought of all of the students in the class working on task the entire time, but I don't think it's a mistake to try and shoot for that goal. Thank you, everyone.